Hello, Regis Juniors. This is Mr. Fevles here with a bonus lesson for you on definitions and terms and academic requirements in college. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. Um, what we're trying to do here is to help you with terms with which you might not be familiar as you begin to do your research, your four colleges you're going to get in your second meeting. And the aim here is to make the college in real terms, to get you to visualize it somewhat. I want you to make it a real experience, not an idea or a dream, or certainly not a prize. And I'm going to conclude this by doing a little bit in terms of academic requirements at Williams College. So let's begin by showing you, as I knock this down a bit, okay? Just an idea of what we're talking about. In session 5, we ran out of time, and we got to get to the next topic in section 6. So what I did with section 5 is I brought you guys down to these points to consider, but I never got to define them for you or help define them for you. And it would be helpful to be familiar with these terms as you start to do your research. So this is embedded in, again, that handout from session 5. It's still up on my Moodle page, and you all have a hard copy of it. But let's go over a few of them. I would never go over all of them. That would take far too much time. But I want to concentrate on a few of these that would make some sense. So when you look at the FIS Guide or Princeton Review or the College Board's Big Future page, you're going to find a lot of these terms. So you're going to see the size of the college, the number of students on campus. Now the thing you want to focus on is undergraduate enrollment. Every college's guide is just slightly different, but what's the thing you notice first of all? You're noticing that a small college is about 3,000 students or less. Now, how many students are there at Regis? About 530. So right off the bat, you're seeing that college is bigger than high school, no matter what. Because even at the small end, it's about 3,000 students. Now, what does that mean in real terms? Well, it basically means that it's going to be split up just slightly more women than men, and there are a lot of people to see even at a small college or university. And there are the guides, medium, large, very large. Some of you get scared off by very large colleges with 20,000 students or more. Again, you want to look in terms of undergraduate students because if there's a guide that has graduate students on top of it, that might obfuscate the situation a little bit because you don't have as much interaction with graduate students. For example, at NYU, as you noticed, NYU has a number of fabulous graduate schools, among them the law school, the dental school, the business school, places like that, but you won't run into them very often. And as it says here on the guide, the dynamic between the grade levels is more fluid. You don't go to classes only with freshmen, for example. You may be in a class with all different types of grades and maybe even some part-time or graduate students. And in junior year, many students are going to be off campus doing study abroad experiences, maybe even as early as sophomore year, or that seems unusual. And the thing to ask yourself is, with whom do you spend most of your time? So at a very large college or university, you might be concerned that you'll be lost in the crowd, or it's so hard to get to know all of those people. Well, you're probably not going to get to know a lot of those people because for the most part, your social time is spent in the dorm, in your major, maybe with an athletic team or club or with an extracurricular activity, service group, something like that. And often students find their niche. For example, at the University of Illinois, which is upwards of 40,000 undergraduates, there's a great cadre of students who study engineering and computer science. They actually call themselves the nerd herd. How about that? And they find their own niche, even though it's a very large institution with a lot of athletic teams and places like that. So, again, don't be too scared off by the large institutions, and with the small ones, realize that there are still quite a few people to see overall. And you'll get to know what those means when you do your research. What is it? Do students get to know everybody or not? And when it comes to day or boarding, that basically means residential or commuting. Be mindful that the college calendar might allow you a lot of time to get home, maybe even as early as Friday if you don't have classes on Friday, which many college students don't. Again, that may help with the location or setting. If it's far from home, you might still have an opportunity to get home. And even if you're commuting, there are plenty of opportunities to get involved so that your college experience doesn't have to be high school 2.0. You can get involved in clubs. You can see your professors. You can still join an athletic club or team or any of those things. So, and it does save you a lot of money, as we'll talk about pretty soon. And when it comes to geography, it could be that many of you are very biased and say, well, I only want to go to school in New England or the Mid-Atlantic. I'm not really familiar with all the other places. Well, keep in mind, there are plenty of great colleges in all of those settings. Or you might be thinking, I have to get away from home because I don't like New England or the Mid-Atlantic anymore and I want to experience something new. Well, even if you were to go to a local college or university, students are going to be coming from a variety of places across the U.S. as well as internationally. So it's a little bit related to number 4 here, which is distance from home. Around the country, students on average go about 2 hours away from home. But the thing to think about is how you would get there. Would you drive? Would you fly? And the 50-mile rule basically means 50 miles an hour for travel. Yes, I know the speed limit's faster than that, but when you factor in traffic and tolls and gas and things like that, 50 miles is perfectly okay. It needn't be a perfect borderline. If you're thinking, I'd like to be 4 hours from home, there may be great places that are 4.5 hours away from home. Keep in mind the finances are a consideration here, because if you're thinking, I would be okay going to the West Coast because I can always just fly there, well, flights can get a little pricey. So, something to think about. And keep in mind that those of you who want to stay close to home, hey, you might not be coming home as often as you might think. Some of you have told me, I'm going to come home every weekend. Well, we'll see what happens. College freshmen don't typically come home that often, maybe once a month. That's something that you'll work out with your parents. Number 5, private, public, and private religious. This is just to open your eyes to great colleges within a range of styles here, a range of institutions. Some of you might be biased against public schools, thinking, well, it's a state school and I got away from public school to come to Regis, so it couldn't possibly be good. Well, if you look at this list here, you might stack these colleges up against any private institution any day of the week. The University of Virginia, William & Mary, Rutgers, Binghamton, Chapel Hill, all considered some of the best colleges in the United States, public or private. Public universities have a little bit of an advantage. First of all, they tend to be less expensive for people who live in that state. So, for example, if you live in New York State, the tuition before financial aid at SUNY Binghamton is about $9,000, where it's about $20,000 if you're coming from out of state. And public schools also have a lot of resources because state governments tend to put all of their resources into them. So Chapel Hill will have virtually every major you could possibly want, including engineering and science. And they have plenty of resources for research and study and things like that. So don't be scared of the public schools. Don't be scared of the Jesuit schools either. Keep in mind that Catholic colleges don't require you typically to be Catholic in order to attend, so the setting is going to be a lot more diverse than you might think. In addition, very few colleges require you to take theology in quite the same way that you've experienced it in high school. More on that later, but essentially you're not going to be required to take church history again if that wasn't a good experience for you. And keep in mind, too, that even at non-sectarian or non-religious schools, you can still find a good Catholic community somewhere in the area, if not on campus, in the community. Wake Forest is a very good example. Not sectarian at all, but located in the Bible Belt, so it's mostly Protestant groups, but they do have a very vibrant Catholic community there. Now, when it comes to setting, Regis students tend to be biased toward urban or suburban schools. they tell me things like, well, there have to be things to do off campus. I want to be able to go out and go to restaurants and movies and all kinds of cultural stuff. Well, college students don't typically leave campus. There's enough to do there that they don't normally require an opportunity to go out all the time. It could be that you have friends that are doing things on campus during the weekend, and you would rather not go out and go to the Chipotle. Hey, college campus. I had a student tell me that once. I have to have a Chipotle nearby, and I said, well, they may very well have a Chipotle on campus, buddy. Or a student says, I want a place that has a 24-hour subway, and I said, well, you're staying in New York, pal. At Penn State, for example, considered very, very rural, very much in the middle of Pennsylvania, not much to do if you wander off campus, but a million things to do on campus. I mean, for example, sports, of course, are a big thing, but also art galleries and engineering activities, lectures, things like that. Lots of social opportunities, and you don't have to leave campus. And freshmen and sophomores don't leave campus that much anyway. So, don't be biased against the rural or the small town schools, because there may not be a lot of reason to leave campus, and so much happens on the campus itself. Number 7 here, this is just a way to teach you that colleges and universities are different. Colleges tend to be only undergraduate students, 4-year students, and universities tend to have more than one college within the university, and they tend to have a presence of graduate students, a larger presence. So you might be surprised to note from this list that Boston College here, the Jesuit institution, is actually a university. And why is that? Well, first of all, there's the College of Arts and Sciences, and there are other colleges as well, including the Carroll School of Management. And they have graduate students on campus too. So it's just that there was another place down the street that was also called Boston University, and they're different places, of course. So Boston College is the one that a lot of Regis students tend to gravitate to because it's Jesuit, but it's a university and not a college. Whereas Wesleyan University in Middletown, Connecticut, well, they may have 1 or 2 graduate programs, but not enough to consider really a graduate school. But for the most part, we're talking about 2,000 undergraduate students who go to college at Wesleyan. It's just that there's another Wesleyan college out there in the Midwest somewhere. Dartmouth is a good example of really a college that just has undergraduate students. They do have a business program there for graduate students, but not many, and they don't consider it really a business school almost. It's basically just a program. So know those two differences between the college and the university. If you really want the resources of a university, that might be something to think about. But just know the difference so you can make a good choice. Okay, more on the academic side of things. When it comes to concentrations, some of you say, I really want to be a doctor or a veterinarian or something in the medical field. Well, that's what you would call kind of a professional preparation for things. But it's really not a major. If you're pre-med or pre-vet or pre-dental, you're not majoring in anything particular. It's really just a way of guiding you toward the profession, giving you an idea of how to apply, maybe shadowing you with some doctors or something like that, giving you some professional preparation on top of the courses that you're actually taking. Because in fact, in order to go to medical school, all you really need to do is to have these courses in your background somewhere in your undergraduate experience. So you've got biology, chemistry, organic chemistry, the bane of every doctor's existence, just ask your pediatrician, physics, calc, and English. If you've done all of those courses, you can take the MCAT and you can apply to med school. It's easy as that. So for law school students, the options for a major are even more open-ended. I've seen students major in art history and music, whatever. All you really need to do in law, for law school, is to take the LSATs and do a good job on it. It would probably help if you were a good writer, a good communicator, if you were detail-oriented. But pre-law, again, is just a way of kind of shadowing the profession. It's not a major. Okay, let's talk about divisions within a university or within a college itself. You've got liberal arts, business, engineering, and you've got some other programs like fine arts, maybe undergraduate social work, but these are really the big three. Now, liberal arts basically means learning for its own sake. Tends to be at the undergraduate level. There's no pre-professional concentration. There's no guiding you toward a business degree or an engineering degree. That said, liberal arts colleges do a very good job in terms of making you a good writer, a good thinker, a good communicator, a good team player. And guess what? You're taking a liberal arts education right now at Regis because it's not focused on engineering. It's not only STEM-based, as much as some of you might like that. We're trying to give you a well-rounded education so you can become a good critical thinker, you can work well as a team, you can work well with a mentor, all things that are going to make you a good citizen, a good person overall. The liberal arts really does have its roots in the tradition founded originally by Thomas Jefferson. It has its European roots as well. And can you get a good job out of a liberal arts institution? Well, ask anybody who's graduated Williams College or even Harvard. Those places don't have undergraduate business programs, but people tend to do just fine. Maybe they majored in economics, or maybe they majored in something else, and while they were in college, got an internship somewhere. So yeah, you can do it from a liberal arts college. It need not be, or a liberal arts college within a university. It needn't be business or one of those pre-professional things. Only do the business program at the undergraduate level if you know that that's all you want to study. You don't want to be involved in the other liberal arts things, or you think you want to hit the ground running at 21, 22, 23 years old. You don't think you're going to go for an MBA, and you want to get to know these things now. But otherwise, if you want to be in business, there's no need to do undergraduate business. You can always pick it later. Engineering, however, is a little bit different. A lot of the training in engineering does come at the undergraduate level. So if you're thinking about engineering, it is usually a good idea to enroll in an engineering college at the undergraduate level. If you decide, however, that you start engineering and you don't like it and you want to drop back into business or liberal arts, it's a little harder to do because your credits don't really transfer over. Well, what do I mean? Well, in engineering, you might be taking, science courses and computer courses and math courses. And maybe you've had a full year, 2 semesters in there, and you decided you don't like it and want to go to the liberal arts college. Well, the liberal arts college may tell you, you know what, we'll take some of those credits, but not all, because it may not, it won't, it'll be too difficult to count those toward your degree. More on that in just a little bit. But yeah, for engineering, that's the one program that you might want to start as an undergraduate student. Okay, the rest of this I think I'm going to cover in the next section here, or you can come talk to me about these individually, or might even do some additional things, lessons on some of these points. But let's go back to our PowerPoint here for a second. So in order to cover some of these, you kind of need to know what it's like to go to college in general. So let's take a look at Williams College. It's a liberal arts college. It's mainly undergraduates, about 2,000 students total. I looked it up, and there are about 25 graduate students there, so not enough to call a graduate school. They don't have a graduate program. It's solely for the undergraduates. It's called liberal arts, so you don't see any specific concentrations. You don't have a business college. You don't have an engineering college within it, because it's not a university. It's a college. It's, again, 2,000 students, so it's pretty small. It's pretty small town. I don't know if I would call it rural, but I would call it small town. It's Williamstown, Massachusetts, located in the northwest corner of the state, maybe an hour outside of Albany. Ms. Hong is a very proud graduate of Williams College, so shout out to Ms. Hong. I picked this to take a look at because it does have a pretty clear description of its academic program. And let me show you how that works. How do you graduate Williams College? What do you need to do in the classroom in order to graduate? Well, you have to take 32 semester-long courses. Generally, the calendar works that you have a fall semester, you have a spring semester. The others, maybe a winter program, maybe a summer program, tend to be optional. Some may break that down into credits and say you have to have 128 credits because some credits may be 4, some may be 3, some might be 1, things like that, and it has to total 128. Williams is a bit different in that they just say courses, period. Something counts as a course. Okay? So what does that mean? That basically means 4 courses every semester. Okay? They have what you call distribution requirements, which basically means you have to take some courses in a couple of different areas. I'll go over that in a second. They have a difference, power, and equity requirement, which requires a couple of courses in that kind of DEI mode of things. They have a qualitative, this should be quantitative formal reasoning requirement. Basically, that's a math class. I think it's 2. We'll look at it in a second. They have a writing requirement, which are 2 courses as well. But what you're going to see is that some of these can very well overlap. You might take a course, for example, that satisfies both a distribution requirement and that DPE requirement as well. Okay? You have a major that you need to take. Williams actually doesn't have a minor associated with it. That might be a smaller concentration of things. Okay? You're all familiar with the major. For Williams, that's 9 courses you need to take in a particular area. Williams actually has a phys ed requirement. You'll see that in a second. You have to take a certain degree to show that you're physically fit. And you have to be in residence for 6 semesters. And you're thinking, well, wait a second, wouldn't you be on campus the whole time for all 8 semesters? Yeah, but what if you go study abroad? What if you're a transfer student? Something like that. So, but they do say, or in some cases, like mine personally, I had enough credits from APs, more on that in another session here, that I graduated 1 semester early. There was I had that many credits left over, so I was only in residence really 6 semesters myself for undergraduate. And they say you have to do it in 8 semesters. That's a little unique to Williams because many colleges will allow you to graduate in up to 6 years or even more than that. Okay, so what does this all mean? Well, and where do you find out about this? Well, you go to the college's website and you look up their catalog. Okay, let me back up one. Every college has this. It has what's called an academic college or academic catalog or an academic bulletin, and it tells you what their academic policies are. You can find that basically by doing a search or just going catalog and using the college's search engine for that, or you can just use Google or something. It's perfectly okay. It used to come in this nifty little book, but now most of them are online. You can get a catalog for yourself. If you're interested in what courses they teach, and you should be, this is the place to go for that. But the catalog tells you everything you need to know about the academic policies. What is it like to graduate, to go to classes, their requirements, things like that. This should absolutely be a stop for everybody researching colleges. Okay, here's a little detail on everything. Here's the academic section, which you should all be looking up. Okay, there's more in terms of community in here. But you know what? I'm going to go straight to this link right here, degree requirements, because this shows you what you need to graduate. So it's got a kind of an overview here. So, summary, academic requirement, all the things that I just mentioned here over on the left. So, in general, the academic requirement is this. You need to take 32, you need to pass 32 semester courses. You could actually take 3 on a pass-fail basis. That's exactly what it says. You don't get a grade for it. It doesn't go into your average. It just is pass or fail. And you can do 3 courses like that at Williams. Some do more. You have to have an average of C- or higher, which in college is just about a 1.75. Hey, that's not bad, huh? That's all it takes to graduate. And they're a little unique in that they have 4 winter study courses. I'm going to skip that section because it's unusual to Williams. Dartmouth has a similar thing. Most colleges don't require you to take winter or summer classes. Okay, you're all interested in this, distribution requirements. You're all saying things to me like, I never want to take X type of class ever again in my life, so I want to go to a college that has no requirements. Well, good luck. There's not too many of those. There's Brown, there's Hamilton, there's Amherst, but not too many others. What you generally see, though, is kind of a loose requirement of an area that they'd like you to take. Again, liberal arts colleges want you to be well balanced. They want you to take a selection of things. So, at Williams College, they have 3 divisions: language and the arts, social studies, and science and math. Oh no, I have to take social studies again. I can't believe it. Or, oh, I was terrible at language. I have to take that again. Yeah, let's take a look. Okay? So Division 1. If you can read this on your own, but take a look at the different classes you can take. You can take environmental studies. You have to take 3 courses in each. So you could take an environmental studies. You could take a comparative lit class. You could take maritime studies and certain exceptions. So it's much more broad, isn't it? Division 2, okay? Oh, social studies. I really didn't like history. You know, why do I need to do that? Hey, cognitive science is here. Economics is here. There's environmental studies again. Okay? There's justice and law, leadership studies, psychology. Not bad, huh? And number 3, sounds math and science-y, right? Well, astronomy is one I've seen students take often. Again, environmental studies is a hot thing. People like that a lot. Statistics. There's math if you want it. Okay? 3 courses. Okay? Williams has a writing requirement. Basically, they say we want you to take 2 courses and be able to show that you're a good writer. Again, liberal arts colleges are big on communication and writing. And here's that DPE requirement. It's actually 1 course. I misspoke. Okay? There's a list of courses that meet that requirement, so it's only 1. And again, think of it this way. Some of these courses may satisfy the writing skills, and they might satisfy the DPE requirement as well. Same for this, the QFR, the quantitative formal reasoning thing. You're thinking it's a math requirement, and it kind of is, but they're willing to work with you on it. Okay? I'm not going to click on this, but you go right ahead. You'll need to take those courses. And then here's the major requirement. You got to take a major. There is no minor. Okay? But what you'll notice about Williams is that the list of majors is not longer than a lot of universities. Well, again, that's because it's a small college. It's only undergraduates. But if you were to click on one of these, let's click on biology just for fun. Okay? It's going to tell you what some of the courses are, who the faculty are. Okay? I like clicking on the courses link because, boy, is it a long, long list of colleges classes. Okay, some of them need to be taken in sequence, and some of them not so much. And it gives you a bit more detail. It even tells you who some of the professors are. And hey, you can reach out to some of these staff directly if you wanted to. Now, at Williams, you have to take at least 9 courses in their major field. Once again, some of these courses can satisfy your requirements. Okay, there you have it. They do have some concentrations. Again, I misspoke. They may have a pre-med concentration. Here's the instructions on 2 majors. I can't believe anybody doing 3 majors. I don't know where someone would have the time for that, but they do offer permission. And they even do this thing called contract major, which kind of says make your own major. It's a tough thing to do. Some colleges do it more than others. But it's an interesting thing. Again, they're willing to work with you. I'm going to let you read the bit on winter study on your own. And wow, look at this, another unique thing. Williams wants you to do a swim test. Again, not a typical thing. Phys ed is a requirement, but again, it's not you hanging around in gym class. But take a look. Some of these can be a dance department activity, participation, sorry, on a varsity JV or club team. Something like that. That can satisfy your PE. Okay? So it's not as bad as you might think. And again, here's your thing on the residency requirement. They just want you to be... Now, they're not saying you have to live in the dorms for all 8 semesters or all 6 semesters, but you need to be taking classes at Williams for 6 semesters. They don't have to be consecutive, though. Okay? So that's where we are with how to graduate. I thought it was important for you all to know what some of these terms are and putting the colleges in real terms, not just an idea or a prize, or it would be really great to get into this college, especially when you don't know what it means to graduate. So that's what I had, guys. Please feel free to share this with your parents. I'm going to put it up on the Moodle page, and I'll see you soon.